Hey guys, what's up? The Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite animes, and today I'm going to be doing an anime review on an anime that I finally just finished, like earlier today, and that anime is the Monogatari series second season, and oh my god, this is a huge one. This is gonna be a big one. This is gonna be a big review. So the Monogatari series second season is actually based off of not a manga, but light novels by Nishio Ishin, one of the brightest minds of Japan right now, and he is often hailed as the Shakespeare of light novels because he is like Shakespeare. The wordplay, the deep characters, the double meanings, the psychology of his stories are all so fascinating. This anime is adapted under Studio Shaft, and it is led under the chief director Shimbo Akiuki. So, let me just preface this. If you're new to this channel, you may think I'm just reviewing this out of nowhere, but actually, about 3-4-ish years ago, I've been binge watching the Monogatari series. I watched the first part of the series, Bakemonogatari, which the more I rewatch and the more I think about it, the more of a masterpiece it becomes. We have the sequel, Nisemonogatari, which is not as interesting, but still has a lot of compelling suspicious moments. And then I saw the trilogy, the film trilogy that is Kizumonogatari parts 1, 2, and 3. These three films are three of the best animated films I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen the medium of animation pushed to such an extreme. And then a little bit later in 2021, I saw Nekomonogatari Black, which stars this character here, Hanekawa Tsubasa, which is extremely compelling, even though I would say Nekomonogatari Black is one of the weaker parts of the Monogatari series. So after that, I basically took a 3-year-long rest. It's been a long time since after I've seen Nekomonogatari Black or Nekomonogatari Kuro. And this time, I have to watch the Monogatari second season. And the reason being is that the new season of the Monogatari series, Off and Monster season, just got released. And I can't just watch that, I have to catch up with everything. So that's why I'm binge watching the Monogatari series once again. Now, everything I just mentioned, Bakemonogatari, Nisemonogatari, Kizumonogatari, and Nekomonogatari Kuro, are all part of season 1, which means that now we're in the so-called second season, or it would be better if you consider this a second phase, like it's a Marvel thing or something. So essentially, this second season is separated into 5, actually 6 arcs. But one of the arcs is, for some reason, animated, produced, and released differently. And that is Hana Monogatari. So in second season, we have 5 stories. First off, we have Nekomonogatari White or Nekomonogatari Shiro. Then we have Kabukimonogatari, we have Otorimonogatari, we have Onimonogatari, and we have Koimonogatari. These are the 5 stories. And so we have 5 different stories centralized on 5 different characters about 5 different incidents. But unexpectedly, the second season of the Monogatari series feels way more different than the first season. First of all, before talking about Monogatari series, if you're not familiar with Monogatari series, it is, I can't even define it. I've never seen a single anime even close to what the Monogatari series is. In short, it is basically a dialogue heavy show. It's almost like a radio drama, but it's also like an anti-harem. It is at times slice of life, at times it's a comedy, at times it's a horror, at times it's a mystery. It's basically every genre you can think of blended into one, while defying all sorts of anime rules and cinematic rules. One of the primal rules of anime is that it cannot include real life footage, and Bakemonogatari boldly defies against that. And sure, a lot of other animes, like Evangelion, does that. But every time an anime does that, it's like, oh my god, they just broke the number one unspoken rule. So this is extremely interesting. Not only that, but the editing, the color schemes, the voice acting, the music, they're all extremely unconventional for anime in general. And even though Bakemonogatari literally came out in 2009, right now, as I'm speaking in 2024, most animes, if not all animes, still don't come close to being as experimental and as out there and as creative and as original as the Monogatari series. If you don't know this, the writer of the Monogatari series, Nishio Ishin, which is, by the way, a palindrome, Nishio Ishin wrote the novels thinking that it's going to be impossible to adapt it into an anime. And of course, Studio Shaft saw this and was like, screw it, we'll adapt it into an anime. And make it even more weird, make it even more challenging. Most of the animes I've seen in my entire life are pretty, mainstream, they're accessible. There are so few animes I dare to call art house. The Monogatari series is one of the few animes that I can comfortably call an art house anime. So, I digress. Let's talk about the second season. The Monogatari series second season is actually much more serious than the first season. And I think one of the reasons is that the characters in the second season have grown. They have, I believe, moved on from junior high to high school, or I think they're in their last year of high school, so they all have matured a little bit. The characters are much more mature and much more stable. Second of all, Araragi, the main character of the Monogatari series, he used to be the narrator of the entire story, but surprisingly, he's only the narrator of 2 out of the 5 stories in this season. Another thing is the directing. What the fuck is going on? The directing and the mise-en-scène, aka the visual style, is basically turned up to 11. Take the choppy editing and the crazy eccentric cinematography of the first season and turn it up to 11. This anime is pushing it to a point where it's challenging our norms of the anime form, of the cinematic form. The editing is even choppier in this new season. The cinematography is off the walls. Like, there are so many scenes where it's nothing but dialogue, like 10 minutes of non-stop dialogue. But the directors and the animators of the Monogatari series keep finding new interesting ways to film this dialogue scene. And there are so many scenes where we either have extreme wide shots or extreme close-ups and nothing in between. And again, very choppy, lots of weird imagery. Animation style basically changes. There is a point, I believe, in the end of Shinobu Time where a real video of a real monkey is shown when talking about Kambaru Suruga, who didn't really show up too much in this anime. But yeah, even so, I still prefer the more fluid and unpredictable style of Bakemonogatari. I think in terms of the visual style, I think Bakemonogatari and the Kizumonogatari films are the peak of this series. But even so, the editing, the cinematography, the color schemes, every single shot is colorful, all caps, and the framing and composition rivals some of the best filmmakers working right now. So I am genuinely surprised at how artistic and how creative the animators and Akiyuki Shimbo is. Also, I believe Tatsuya Oishi, one of the directors, who I think isn't involved in the second season, but he is one of the biggest reasons why the Monogatari series has this much artistic value. Another thing is that every arc in this anime sort of overlap with each other, so every single arc feels like a different genre. Another thing I'd like to talk about is that I, about 2 years ago, bought a light novel. And if you can read Chinese or Japanese, you would know that this is Nekomonogatari Shiro or Nekomonogatari White. And this is actually the light novel for the first arc. So the first arc has 5 episodes. This entire book, 5 episodes. How? So I actually started reading it, and I think I made it to halfway through, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I have to watch the anime now. But it's actually astonishing how much words is packed into this story. This is really just all dialogue, and like all dialogue, as you can see. Like, Nishio Ishin would spend 3 to 4 pages where we hear banter from Senjukata Hikagi and this character, Hanekawa Tsubasa, sort of rambling about food. Do you dip your sushi in soy sauce? No. Do you put salt and pepper on your eggs? No. Do you put butter and jam on your toast? No. And that's like 3 to 4 pages. It's so ridiculous. And so the anime only animates the most important parts. But they're literally the first 2 chapters, and I say chapter, but they're more like chapters of a Bible. It's like every chapter is like 5 to 6 pages, but like this is 002, so that's chapter 2. And then like you flip a little bit further, you see 003. So 002 and then 003. These 2 chapters happen in the anime within seconds. So there's so much more in this, that the anime didn't really include as well. So it's really interesting to read the light novel and then watch the anime to make comparisons. But yeah, it is only on the last episode of these 5 episodes when we get some sort of action or insight on what the hell is happening in the story. Essentially, we have our main character, Hanekawa Tsubasa, who has short hair now, and she encountered a mysterious white tiger. And apparently it's some sort of manifestation of her own stress and anger, and it's 5 episodes long. But it is also a slice of life drama / comedy. It's actually really slow paced. And the OP, Chocolate Insomnia, I wasn't a huge fan at first. I thought it was just okay, because I didn't understand why it would be so bright and poppy. But in my opinion, I think this is Hanekawa Tsubasa maturing as a person, and the characters maturing as well. Now the characters are more prone to happiness and emotional maturity. Thus, Chocolate Insomnia and how mature and happy it is. Now, this arc still breaks a lot of rules of storytelling. While the entire arc is happening, Nishio Ishin basically implies that a whole different story arc is happening concurrently to this story, yet throughout the entire second season, we have no idea what that story is. It doesn't matter. And I also really like that the character struggles are still not resolved. Clearly, after 2 whole arcs, Hanekawa Tsubasa still experiences a lot of pain and jealousy. I also really like the beginning of episode 5. That sort of feels like a video essay with a lot of beautiful colors and graphic designs. Overall, very interesting. Not the most exciting first arc of the second season, but I can totally see how this arc sort of sets the tone for the rest of the show. Also, the music of this arc is especially simple and piano heavy, which makes this arc feel so clean and pure and bright and almost dreamy. But then again, every single arc, every single episode is dreamy as hell, because aside from these characters, nobody else exists in this town. If they do, you either scantily see them, like you only see parts of their face or their silhouette, or they're not animated as human beings, but they're mannequins, they're empty shadows. So now we have the second arc here, Kabukimonogatari, or Mayoi Jiangxi. And this is a bit of a joke, because we have an arc here called Mayoi Jiangxi, we have an arc here called Shinobu Time. But Mayoi Jiangxi is about Shinobu, which is this character. And Shinobu Time is actually about Mayoi. So Kabukimonogatari is 4 episodes long, and we completely change genres from slice of life comedy to a post apocalyptic time travel mystery. And the funny thing is, the OP is this fun, squeaky song called Happy Bites. It's a fun song, but I don't really think much of it. Another huge rule breaking moment is the introduction of Ogi. So when I watched the first episode of this, I was like, what? Am I watching the wrong show? Am I watching the wrong season? Because we're suddenly put into a middle of a dialogue scene between Araragi and Oshino Ogi. Who the hell is Oshino Ogi? Like, I've seen her in like videos on YouTube, but like in the story, I haven't seen her so far. And she's just there and she's just talking to Araragi with no entrance. And I think Araragi didn't even mention her name until later in the scene. So we're just dropped in the middle of a conversation with a total stranger, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And I just really like that. It's so defiant to normal storytelling rules. Now, the story of Mayo Jiangxi, I don't want to spoil it because the whole arc is basically a giant spoiler. It's about Shinobu in another timeline. I guess that's the best way I could put it. There's also the legendary Oi Shinobu meme that happens in this arc. My favorite scene is on episode 9 when Araragi and Shinobu set off fireworks. It is so happy yet so sad and dreamy at the same time. The scene feels like it came straight out of a Koreeda film or an Iwai Shunji film. And on episode 10, we see Hajikuji Mayoi adult version, which is really interesting. We also finally see, for the first time since Kizu, Kiss Shot Acerola Orion Heart Under Blade returns. And she's my favorite character of the whole show. And I like that she only shows up sparingly. But she shows up this time in great mental distress, suicidal almost. So it is incredibly interesting. We also have the ED of the first 2 arcs, Song of Love or Ai wo Utae, and I think this is just okay. I really like that Studio Shaft is sticking to passionate indie rock with a dash of melancholy, just like Kimi no Shiranai Monogatari. But this song is nowhere near as strong or as emotional or as nostalgic as Kimi no Shiranai Monogatari. But I still like it. Now on to the third arc, Otorimonogatari or Nadeko Medusa. This arc is a full-blown psychological drama, and it is narrated by Sengoku Nadeko. The OP to this arc, Moso Express, is one of the greatest anime OPs of all times. Partially because one of the most famous things about the Monogatari series is the Se no demo sonna ja dame mo sonna ja hora, that OP, which is called, I forgot the name of that OP. So Moso Express is basically that, but in reverse, and it's dark, like dark, edgy version where we have minor chords and we have imagery, but like distorted, skipping film frames, and it's very much about this character of Sengoku Nadeko, this young middle school girl or junior high. It's very much about her having a mental breakdown, and that's what this entire arc is. The voice actress for Sengoku Nadeko, Hanazawa Kana, one of the most legendary voice actresses in the anime industry at this point. This is literally one of her career best performances. She has a mental breakdown at some point, screaming and shouting, and I'm like, god damn, the range on her, it's crazy. And also, I really like that Araragi is presented differently depending on whose perspective it is. So in the first arc, that is Nekomonogatari White, Araragi is this amazing badass savior. In here, Araragi is presented as a loving, protective brother figure. So it's really interesting, and I think it's because of that there's a loss of humor. Because if we're in Araragi's head, everything's kind of funny and awkward, but when we're in Nadeko's head, it's much more serious. But yeah, as I'm watching this, I feel like I'm slowly going insane along with Sengoku Nadeko. And I also really love, minor spoiler alert though, I really love the ending. It's unresolved. In all the previous endings, every story is resolved somehow. In this one, it's unresolved. And it sort of hints towards a comeback, which we'll talk about later. The fourth story is Onimonogatari, or Demon Story, and it is Shinobu Time, but it is actually about Hachikuji Mayoi. There's also no OPs on this arc, simply because the voice actress for Oshino Shinobu, Sakamoto Maya, signed some sort of contract that forbids her from singing for anime purposes. So she doesn't sing at all, unless it's her own musical career. Now, this is very interesting because this arc is sort of part horror, part folktale, part tearjerker combo. There's a part where we sort of enter this old Japanese tapestry, this sort of scroll painting, and we sort of go over kiss shots past it while she narrates over it. But the ending of this arc becomes this ethereal, dreamy, heavenly scene, also the saddest scene of the entire anime thus far. So, yeah, not gonna spoil it, but the ending, so emotional, and it hurts so much. The ending, the ED theme for these two arcs is Sono koe wo oboeteru, or I Remember That Voice, which I thought was okay, not the greatest, but I love the animation style, that's for sure. Now we finally end up with the last arc, also known as Koimonogatari Love Story, Hitagi End. And it is called Hitagi End, but really it's about Kaiki Deshu, who is one of the sub-villains of the Monogatari series, if sub-villains even exist anyways. And back in season 1, he is this sub-villain who is a scammer, a schemer, a scammer, a deceiver, a liar, and he is the reason why so many characters are having mental struggles and developing weird spiritual crisis. And this arc turns into this subtle mystery thriller following a con artist, Kaiki Deshu, trying to piece together a puzzle almost as if he's solving a murder mystery. So again, every arc has a different genre. And the OP, holy shit, this is so good. It's called Fast Love, but that's a solo version. Duet version is called Kogarashi Sentiment, and it is a duet between Kaiki Deshu. The voice actor is Miki Shinichiro, and Saito Chiwa, who voice acts Senjokara Hitagi. And this is not only an extremely catchy OP, like I can't stop singing and remembering this song because it's so catchy. Moichido, mohitodo, na 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 na, asai mama, kanashi mama, kojikan ga de de de. I don't remember the lyrics, but this is amazing. Apparently, when they were recording this song, they are given the direction that Saito Chiwa is seriously trying to sing the song in a karaoke, and Miki Shinichiro is only trying to sing because he's forced to. So it creates a very interesting dynamic. I also love the animation of the OP where Senjogata and Kaiki, who are both arch nemesis to each other. They hate each other and they've wronged each other. Or more like Kaiki has wronged Senjogahara. They have to team up to fight someone else and fight something else. And so they are forcefully put into this 80s romance anime style fictional world. So they're constantly stuck between reality and this low resolution smiley face, spilled drinks, fast cars, beaches, Okinawa kind of imagery, while still fighting against their own apparitions. Senjogata with her crab fighting against, very intriguing. The ED for this arc is Snowdrop, which I thought is also okay, not really that groundbreaking or anything, but I thought it fits. It works. One thing I love about this arc is that Kaiki sort of does a 180 degree and becomes a likable character here. The thing is, I already kind of liked him in the first season, even though he is a sub-villain. He's an asshole. But I already like him as a character. He's entertaining. So for me, it's not that big of a 180 degree change, but for some Monogatari fans, it is. There are also a lot of weird clues and moments. Someone secretly following Kaiki, a mysterious closet, a mysterious letter. I love the snowy, wintry imagery of this arc. It's interesting because the opening of the second season starts in summer. It's very summery, but the ending is very wintry and snowy. And the ending episode is all dialogue. Don't expect any crazy, gory, violent stuff, even though they can definitely happen in the Monogatari series. But most importantly, the ending episode is all dialogue, but yet it's also somehow deeply meaningful and beautiful. It's about romance, but it's also about the lack thereof. It's about the world outside of romance. It's about living without romance. And it is extremely interesting. It's also kind of funny at the same time. So, yeah, overall, holy shit. This is an anime that I can talk about again and again and again for hours upon hours upon hours. There's something so dreamy about this whole anime. It's so liminal. Lots of liminal spaces. Lots of clever callbacks. Lots of double entendres. Lots of double meanings. Lots of deep, thought-provoking conversations. Every single character is as quirky and as interesting and as complex and as layered. Lots of overlapping themes and storylines. This is... Again, on the surface, it's just a stupid high school comedy, but it is anything but. And this is an anime that I think redefines what it means to be an anime. And for that reason, I think this is a masterpiece. I am giving the Monogatari second season a 10 out of 10. So, have you watched the Monogatari series? Comments below let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching. I gotta go now.